Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast, which, as usual, will talk about matters to do with mental health. Now, in today's podcast, we will focus on the COVID pandemic and its effects on our mental health. The COVID pandemic brought many changes to how we live our life, and with it, uncertainty, new daily routines, financial pressure, and social isolation. We worried about getting sick, how long the pandemic will last, whether we will lose our jobs, and what the future holds. There was a lot of uncertainty surrounding the whole period from when it was announced in the beginning of January until now. 2020 has been a year which I am certain not many will forget. The challenges we have experienced, and by the way we are still going through them, has affected our physical, emotional, and psychological well-being. However, it is important to understand and to note that by understanding the effects of COVID-19 outbreak on our mental health is as important as understanding the clinical transmission and management of COVID-19. Therefore, our mental health is just as important as our physical health. Focusing on how to slow the spread of the virus is important for our physical health. However, identifying ways to manage our mental health is also very crucial. Now, COVID pandemic is a global pandemic. So globally, the pandemic is associated with increasing daily infections, deaths, social disruptions, economic loss, anxiety, and uncertainty about the future, which results in emotional strain and fear about our health, our safety, our security, and our livelihoods. Bereavement, isolation, loss of income, and fear have triggered mental health conditions or impaired existing ones. Mental health disorders including anxiety, maniac depression have worsened during the COVID pandemic. Many people are facing increasing levels of alcohol and drug use, insomnia, and anxiety. So in the midst of this global pandemic, it is understandable that people are worried about their health, about their loved ones. How will they cope if they get sick? Ongoing restrictions and limiting social interactions have led to increased loneliness and isolation, which of course all have an impact on our mental health. COVID-19 is causing enormous stress for people who were already worried about how they will support their families. Now, the stresses we are experiencing again affect us physically, psychologically, and emotionally, as well as changing our behavior. The stress undermines our ability to stay healthy, look after our families, and again, plan for the future. So, what do we do about the psychological challenges and issues and the psychological toll that is taking and affecting each and every one of us? Preventing psychological issues means mental health support needs to be integrated at all levels. By this I mean in our local communities, in our workplaces, in schools, in hospitals, and even in our health system. It means that mental health practitioners, mental health information and material need to be readily available to the public, no matter on what social status that an individual may be. We simply cannot afford to wait until the pandemic is under control before dealing with the massive and increasing psychological toll that is already being experienced. We know and we appreciate that in ordinary times, good mental health is vital for overall well-being. For as the World Health Organization has clearly stated, there can be no health without mental health. But we are all shadowed by fear and uncertainty and anxiety caused by the COVID-19. Access to good mental health and support is more important than ever. It is literally life-saving. That is why it is important to practice self-care, especially as we maneuver our way through the pandemic. Self-care strategies are good for our mental health and physical health as well, and can help us take charge of our lives. By this I mean take charge of our emotional, psychological, and physical well-being. Practicing self-awareness can help us recognize patterns in our emotions, including events or situations that can trigger or worsen existing symptoms or conditions that we already have. It can also help us recognize what activities are necessary for our well-being. It can help soothe negative symptoms of a mental health or mental illness that is already there. Please note that self-care doesn't need to be elaborate, expensive, or labor-intensive for it to be effective. You may not even need to go out of your way to practice self-care. Just learn to observe how your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions are through the course of the day. Because again, this ultimately determines your behavior. Now, unfortunately, COVID-19 has taken so much from us, but it's also given us something special. The opportunity to come together as one, to work together, to learn together, and to grow together. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and Merry Christmas!